Well, I want to take this moment to explain to committee and to those that are here in attention the reason for hearing 1254. I want to make it clear, in my view, though we're going to have people here testifying from Tesla, this eclipses Tesla. I spent a year trying to keep an outfit over here on 86th Street from dumping mopeds and ATVs on our marketplace with no after-the-service sale. I had dealers from Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson talking to me, why are you allowing these people to sell these products in ways that then we receive the complaints? We have no parts, no way to service them, no training. Well, I recognize people have last year and this year tried to make this about Tesla. I want to let the people here at Tesla know this is not directed at you in my comments. What is directed is that there are many manufacturers that are emerging around the world that may end up doing the same thing that happened out here in 86th Street. You examine in your home and find the products that you purchase. How many of them do you go directly to the manufacturer to have it made right? I think you're going to find very few, because you either have a store or a salesman that you have conducted business with. To the credit of Tesla, they found a keyhole to jump through in Indiana's law. I applaud them for being creative. But at the same time, I want to make sure this doesn't become the practice because of so many other entities starting to join this type of manufacturing. In talking with many of my dealers, they're concerned about the same thing. So the House passed a version that made a summer study committee. This is one of those issues to me that you can study to death. But on the council with Senator Kenley, he wanted to leave it, and in the amendment that I'm presenting here, I've left it. I do believe that we have carved out a space for those individuals or individual manufacturer that already exist. But I think in the amendment, it sends a clear message in Indiana. We are very much about customer service. I've said it time and again, and I'll say it here for the folks at home. After the hype, where's the help? It's all I care about. We're all used to taking that help to our local store or our local dealer. And while I know that this has been presented, as I've said, about just Tesla, I want it clear this bill or this amendment is not about Tesla. They may be impacted, but this to me is about the future of the way we're going to handle our constituents being able to address their concerns. I'm glad that Representative Mahan is here and Senator Kenley, the Senate sponsor. If you two would like to present it, or whichever one wants to present it, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. it's okay, I'll just read just a few very short comments as to the genesis of the bill. And then I know that Senator Kenley has an amendment that he would like to also offer. I want you also to understand that after this was presented, it was not my intent to put this into a summer study committee. The way we had things on the 11th hour over in the House, there was some, I don't know if I want to say a miscommunication or a misunderstanding between LSA and the Secretary of State's office, and we just got our backs against the wall. We really didn't have a choice to do that. So House Bill 1254 would update and clarify existing state law provisions intended to protect consumers and ensure a robust and competitive automotive marketplace, maintaining a level playing field between new manufacturers and established manufacturers. By definition, requires all manufacturers to play by the same rules. Current Indiana law was drafted with the clear intention that the best method of protecting consumers and ensuring a stable and competitive automotive marketplace was through a franchisee system. Unfortunately, outdated language and terminology has resulted in loopholes which allow new manufacturers, however big or small, domestic or foreign, to largely operate free from the state automotive distribution law, while established manufacturers remain subject to a substantial list of restrictions and regulations, essentially penalizing established manufacturers for their franchise dealers for having implemented a system of vehicle distribution system in conformance with existing laws that have been in existence for years and years. Manufacturers work closely with franchise dealers to operate within Indiana's existing distribution system. In Indiana, as in most states, automakers and dealers operate under a complex scheme of franchise laws regarding regulating nearly every facet of their relationship. You know, the Senate and the House historically has passed many bills regulating this relationship, and there's even a specific division within the Secretary of State's office that regulates the franchise system. It would be very simple for new manufacturers to open sales and service facilities, or even a facility, in Indiana through a ready, willing, and able body of franchise entrepreneurs eager to bring a new product to the consumers. Just a couple brief comments. I want to make very clear, and I think that you hit that very well, Mr. Chairman. This bill is not about Honda or Toyota or GM or Ford or Tesla or whatever future automotive manufacturer comes about. To me, this is about fairness, and it's about a level playing field. To me, a car is a car is a car is a car. And it doesn't matter whether it's any of the major dealers that were products that we see on the roadway today, whether it's Tesla or whatever it's going to be next. I can guarantee when these are going down the interstate at 80 miles an hour, the state police have one standard crash report to do, and they're all going to be treated the same. And I think we need to do that the same way here in the state of Indiana when it goes to the distribution of them. Lastly, I just want to say this. If you're like I am, every year you come back to the State House, you sit here and think, oh, we're going to have to deal with these alcohol issues. Year after year after year, we come here because of the archaic system that we have with alcohol. And we have to ask ourselves in the alcohol world, if we'd never heard of alcohol before, and we just had it thrown before us, is that the law? Are those the laws we'd have on the books? I've yet to have one lawmaker say, yeah, that's exactly what we would have. So what I'm asking for is let's not allow this to become our next alcohol issue, where we have different systems in place for different groups of people who are just trying to offer a very similar product that's out there. So it's for all those reasons that I'm here to support the bill, and also to support Senator Kenley with the amendment that's going to take this from just a study committee back to more of the meats and potatoes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any question of Representative Mahan? Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the hearing, and I apologize. We just finished our committee. We were pushing, but as you know, people like to talk, so we had a hard time getting here. And thank you, Representative Mahan, for bringing the bill. Most of you know that I was in the supermarket business for many years, and there was no more competitive business than the supermarket business, and there was nobody there to bail me out when a new store came to town and say, hey, you're a good guy and we need to take care of you. I just had to learn to fight and live in the free market, competitive world. So I think from that perspective, I want to explain the reason why I have an interest in the bill. Chairman's talked about the interest in protecting the consumer, which is one situation. I think another situation that we're all aware of and need to be cognizant of is that over the many years that we've had an automobile industry in the state of Indiana, and we've been blessed with both having the manufacturers and the retailers in this state, there's been a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities, and a lot of opportunities for individuals who live in Indiana, who have nexus in Indiana, to have businesses that can be very profitable and very wealthy in our communities, and they are contributors, and they pay taxes to us along with everything else. One of the things that we see happening here is the situation like Tesla's situation, where they have and our past regulation has come about because the manufacturers at some point had such an incredible level of strength that you actually had to pass laws to protect the retailer or to govern the relationship between the manufacturer and the retailer in order to establish some kind of an element of fairness or parity between the parties. Tesla's come in. They're willing to have a presence. They're willing to deal with the consumer. They have a different model. And what I'm suggesting in the amendment is that the General Assembly does need to have the study to determine how we're going to produce the level playing field, and Tesla needs to have some kind of a guarantee that they can come in here with the investment that they've already made and be able to go forward. But I think that if you look at what's going on in the other states, you will see that there is a negotiated settlement of how you get to that point. And I don't think it's going to be that hard for us to do, but we're not going to get there if we don't take the step of having the study committee, hearing everybody out, and working it out. In the meantime, my amendment is intended to guarantee Tesla that their existence won't be threatened, and we have a time frame there in which we should get this done and get it accomplished. Now, Tesla is willing to come in and say, all right, we're here, so you have nexus. So you can regulate us from the Secretary of State's office, and you can do this, and you can do that, and based on our operations here, we're going to pay taxes here. But what about the third option, which has made us aware, which is just a straight over the internet sale where they don't have nexus? You don't have any way that you can assure that they have fair treatment of the consumer. You don't have any operation that is operating here, hiring employees here, creating a profit here, being part of our society. So that's the third part of this equation that needs to be dealt with in the study committee. And the amendment tries to recognize that because of Tesla's presence here, they need to be recognized, and they need to be able to have a lawful way to do business in Indiana, and we need to consider whether other models need to be considered about how you sell cars and how you do business and how you take care of the consumer. So the amendment may be a little awkward in that structure, but that's the intent of the amendment, and I don't think anybody can disagree with that who's sitting at the table here. Protect the consumer, figure out how to deal with the people that have no nexus, that have no obligation to somebody that buys something over the internet. How do we collect taxes on anything, even the sales tax? So we've got some problems to deal with there. It's all part of our environment. That doesn't mean that we don't believe in free enterprise and competition. And believe me, I totally believe in that. I would never be on this bill if I thought that it was just an effort to shut somebody out. So with that, I would hope you would give us some favorable consideration, Mr. Chair, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of committee? Yeah. Is Senator Randolph outside the door? Okay. Is the amendment number 3?
Number 3.
Right. Does the committee, all the committee, have amendment number 3? Just for those that maybe haven't seen it, it should be online. But what this does, it does carve out for anyone that exists currently in Indiana that's manufactured direct. And we have given that till January 1 of 2018. Then anybody else that would be a manufacturer after July 1st of this year would come under our normal retail franchise agreements. That way we don't have to go through this. And evidently, we did make it clear that we're a state that favors franchise agreements, and so we find ourselves in this situation. But we also then will have the ability to have a summer study committee. And we will also have an intervening session that anything that's recommended in that summer study committee that can be implemented and try to make sure we're fair to all concerned. It's ironic that we had a committee, just a bill previous to this one, where we were talking about level playing fields. That's something the General Assembly does with regularity, and this is no different. Does anybody on committee have any question on the amendment?
So we're giving until 2018 for any, or for this existing company that has direct sales to continue to be able to do that without any regard to new regulation or new oversight, or does that come out of the summer study committee?
That's right, and I think that Tesla, just to go to the point, feels that they're in full compliance with Indiana law, that it's written, and they have the ability to operate that way. And then secondly, I would say that I think the reason for the time frame is, and there are other states where they have gone through this and worked this problem out and reached an agreement between the traditional manufacturer retailer setup and the Tesla type arrangement. The fortunate thing is that Tesla has established Nexus here, has established a position of responsibility and liability. So all that we need to do is find a way to find a comfortable relationship, and there are already precedents around the country about how you go about that, and the study committee should be able to identify those and come up with a solution for Indiana. The tougher issue is going to be what may be out there in the future where somebody just wants to sell over the internet and has no nexus. And then we say, well, how are you going to protect the consumer on a faulty car that killed 4 people and things like that when we can't even get our hands on them through the legal process? And so that's the third part that we need to deal with, and we need to be aware that's going to happen.
Thank you. Any further questions on the amendment? I'll move Amendment 3. Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded. Can we take it by consent? Can we take that by consent, or do you want? Okay, we have an amended bill. Thank you, and I look forward to our discussion. Thank you, too. Appreciate it. James Chen, if you'll give your name and your what you do.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is James Chen. I'm the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs and Deputy General Counsel for Tesla Motors. I want to thank you and the distinguished members of the committee for having this opportunity to present testimony to you today. We do have written testimony that will be submitted, but I will limit my verbal comments in this for the sake of brevity. I had the honor of appearing before this committee last year when SB 72 came up, and there was a vote by this committee to send that to summer study. Legislative Council did assign the matter to interim study for the Committee on Roads and Transportation, and that never happened. We stood ready to come in and to work with that committee and to present all the information out before the legislature. We still stand ready. This is a very important issue. Chairman, I appreciate very much your introductory remarks where you basically said this was not about Tesla, that this was about other manufacturers who may not be as reputable, and it was about consumer protection. I do appreciate that, but make no mistake, HB 1254, as amendment with Amendment 3, will shut down Tesla in the state. There are rumors that we had reached some sort of compromise. That's not true. Senator Kenley was good enough to meet with us yesterday, and for that we thank him very much. He was very straightforward with us, and as the bill sponsor, he showed us Amendment 3 for the first time yesterday. And this is the first time we did see it. There was no discussion about this language, there was no negotiation, and we indicated to the good senator that we would be opposing the bill. Chris Gibson, our lobbyist, informed Senator Kenley, as of last night that we still oppose the bill. The concern is that while there has been this carve-out to recognize our existing license, a license that we have had for 2 years, a location which we have established at Keystone Corners, this will shut us down by the end of 2017. We will not be able to renew our license, and we will be forced out of the state. The economic impacts of this maneuver are substantial. Currently, Tesla uses a number of suppliers, and last year spent over $42 million on parts and components in Indiana to build our vehicles in the United States. With 50,000 vehicles produced last year and a target this year to try to get to 80,000 vehicles, that number will nearly double. Shutting us down will jeopardize our ability to grow and expand. I mentioned Keystone Corners. We have been there for 2 years. During our time there, no independent dealer of another brand has had to shut down because we have been in existence. In fact, to the contrary, dealers are enjoying their largest sales ever since at least 2008. We have plans for a service center. In fact, since I last testified before this committee, we have rented space at a body shop. We have 4 service employees, our service manager who will be testifying today, and we have 2 new locations under scouting for a 26,000 square foot facility to open up full dedicated service. We have 2 letters of intent. The idea behind those 2 letters of intent were that if one location falls through, we will have a backup location. These are important aspects. I'd also like to add that, with all due respect to Representative Mahan, he called this the alcohol sales issue of our time. I have to respectfully disagree. The laws were set up to govern the relationship between manufacturers and their affiliated dealers. These were private contracts. And Senator Kenley was very correct when he said the laws were put into place to level the playing field between those two. Existing Indiana law does not prohibit manufacturers from being licensed and being able to sell directly. It only prohibits them from unfairly competing with their own franchise dealers. If GM wanted to today, they could apply for and receive a license in an area where they were not competing in a relevant market area against one of their dealers. Tesla only asked for the same opportunity to invest and grow and serve our customers in Indiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just clarification, you would willfully choose to cease operation. Under this bill, it would not require you to shut down. You would choose not to comply with the bill. Is that not correct?
No, the bill says that our license to operate would not be renewable after December 31st, 2017.
That's correct, but if you choose to renew it, you certainly could.
No, we cannot. The law prohibits us from renewing that license.
The manufacturing license, you could renew it if you had a dealership.
And that's not our business model. You're referring to having an independent dealer.
Right.
Last year we produced 50,000 vehicles for worldwide distribution. That is not enough. The traditional dealer model relies on...
Well, I understand. I mean, as long as that's your choice, I just want to make it clear it's your choice. And so that's what we're saying in this bill, is that anybody coming in the future, if they take that position, that's why we're carving it out for you. In the interim time, you might find that you would be better off to have them if you're going to have that many cars on the road. But nonetheless, I just want to make it clear that you're choosing not to change a model of how you want to market them.
With all due respect, Chairman, what this will do is this will have the legislator dictate to Tesla what our business model is. And our business model worldwide is not to use independent franchise dealers. We don't believe that we can succeed using independent dealers.
Very
believe
good.
that- We believe we will go out of business if forced that route.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chen, and I don't know if you could have the answer on this question, or maybe LSA. Is there currently, the system we have right now for the manufacturers that have set up their dealerships, is there a minimum required number of dealerships they have to have in the state of Indiana?
Not that I'm aware of.
So if this would become law, then you would only to be within compliance, only need one dealership. Is that right?
That is my understanding, but understand again that that is not our business model.
I understand it, and I'm sympathetic to you.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you guys are manufacturing cars. I like to see more manufacturers come back, more new cars on the road. But it would only require you to have one dealership if this becomes law.
Right, and if I could, Senator, let me explain why going to the dealership model would be the death knell for Tesla. Last year, we produced 50,000 vehicles. This year, if we hit all our marks, we'll produce between 80 and 90. That's worldwide distribution. GM and Ford produce that many cars in a single week. This morning, while watching the Today Show, I saw advertisements for dealers that talked about a sale of Ford F-150s. They had 22 of those on the lot. They had sales of Ford Focuses. They had 50 of those on the lot for inventory. Our business model doesn't support producing vehicles to put in inventory. Every one of our cars, with the exception of marketing cars and display cars, are built to a customer order. So an independent dealer, in order to be profitable selling Teslas, would have to sell something else. That something else currently is the incumbent technology of gasoline-powered vehicles. Then the incentives are reversed. They can move 50, 100 vehicles a week. They'll be only able to move 2 or 3 Teslas because we simply aren't producing that many at this time.
Okay, I'm just trying to be fair here.
Yep.
But you could, and I don't know if this is possible or not. I mean, right now, I remember years ago when you had dealerships that only sold Chevrolet, sold Chevys and maybe Oldsmobiles, and then the guy down the street sold GMCs and Pontiacs, and that was like, that's the way it was. Nobody could cross over. Now dealers have all kind of manufacturers on their lot. If this happens, it becomes law, couldn't a dealer also sell your cars on his lot too? I'm just asking a question.
Yep.
And I mean, the fact that you're going to spend a lot of money on service center, which is great, because that's a key component of all this discussion. I just got to be honest with you, from a standpoint as just a consumer, I don't see the harm in having that dealership. Or even if you worked out an agreement with a current dealership we have, whether it's a Ford or Chevy, that would also be willing to sell your car. I don't know if they'd be willing to do that or not, but they possibly could. Maybe this would be something that could work out in the summer study committee, but to try to accommodate you guys so that you can still operate here, I don't really see where that would be asking the stars and the moon. Maybe it would be, but I don't.
Well, it would be, and let me give you 2 examples. Fisker and Coda were 2 electric startup companies that started around the same time we did. Those are now both gone. They both went into bankruptcy. They tried to sell through the dealer model, and it simply didn't work. If you look as recently as only 2 months ago, there was an article in the New York Times. The headline was, "There's a car out there that dealers won't sell. It's electric." It was an expose about how independent franchise dealers do not have the economic incentives and do not want to sell electric vehicles. So for those reasons, if we went to that approach, it would kill our business model. On top of that, the consumers lose because we sell our vehicles at the optimal price. An independent dealer would then have to mark up that vehicle to make any sort of profit on that vehicle, to have any incentive to sell that vehicle. On top of that, most dealers will tell you they don't make a whole lot of money on sales anyway. It's about the service. Well, guess what? For our vehicle, it has an 8-year unlimited powertrain warranty with no required service whatsoever. We do not make money on our service. Our service manager for Indiana will testify. The fact is that our service system is set up as a non-profit operation. What it costs, what we charge consumers outside of warranty is what it costs us to set up that system. So by forcing us to go to a dealer, you're seeing a markup in price, you're seeing a disincentive for our vehicles to move, you are essentially killing our business.
Well, Mr. Chen, I won't belabor the issue here, but listen to your testimony that you're proposing that you may have 500,000 cars here manufactured.
We manufactured 50,000 cars last year.
Right. So you expect that at some point 500,000? Was that a number that you
Our-
used?
We have aspirations to
Yeah.
get to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cars,
That's
but,
wonderful.
right.
It sounds like you've built a better mousetrap. I have to say then, thinking about all what we're talking about here, if you're that successful and your product is that attractive, again, I have to say, I don't see where the harm would be to have even just one dealership. With that kind of prospects of selling that many automobiles, how, if you have your service center and one single dealership here in the state, I gotta be honest, I just don't see
Yes.
why that would be such a point that would force you to leave the state of Indiana.
Well,
I just
and
being
with all
fair,
due
but-
respect, Senator, it's because we're not there yet. We hope to get to millions of vehicles, but we're a long way off. And if you legislate us to have this model right now that will raise prices, that will reduce customer service, and I believe the chair talked about this as a consumer protection issue, it will drive us out of business.
All right, well, I'm not really sure I think that's as accurate, but you're the automaker, I'm not. But thank you for your answers.
Senator Houchin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I guess my question, and maybe this is a question for someone else, but is there a minimum that you know of that is an inventory requirement? So in theory, if we were able to allow Tesla to have a dealership, do you have to hold inventory?
Currently, that is not our business model.
That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, and maybe you can't answer it, but if you were allowed to have a dealer certificate, let's just say, there's no minimum requirement of dealerships to hold an inventory.
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. So if there's no inventory requirement, then we have a bifurcated process here where if you're a manufacturer, there's a line between manufacturing and a dealership. And I think what Senator Toms was saying is that, any dealer could sell a Tesla car. I understand it's not your business model. But is there anything that would prohibit Tesla from partnering with or getting a different business entity under your Tesla umbrella to serve as a dealership?
I think I understand your question, Senator. You're asking, could we have a wholly owned subsidiary that would be that dealer? And under existing Indiana law, no, that would not be allowed. If we decide to go the franchise system, it's independent franchises. If we decide to do this on our own, it's on our own, and that's under current law.
So could you partner with, in our current system, a new entity that would serve as a dealer for you?
If we had any type of ownership or control, we could not, under Indiana law.
Right, but you could, in theory, partner with, let's just say you don't want to work with any of the existing dealerships that we have here in the state of Indiana. Theoretically, if there were a new partnership between Tesla and a dealer, 'cause that's where our manufacturers had to find dealers previously, you could do that, irregardless of what we do here.
We could do that, and there would be no economic incentive for that other entity, again, because the profit margins for Tesla simply aren't there for independent dealers.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Randolph.
Chair, just follow up on Senator Houchin's question. It very well could be and I'm following up on Senator Tomes in terms of what he's indicated. If you've got a franchise, you've got an understanding agreement, and they become your dealer. All they need is just one car to be your dealer. Now, if in fact you're a dealer and you're saying it would not be profitable for one car, and it's not then that very well could be a loss leader for that particular dealer as a motivation to get him more clients to come in, and that in itself could be a motivation for him to want to sell your car. Could it not be?
Well, Senator, why would someone put themselves in that position? Because again, they would have to mark up the cost of that car, the price of that car. And if it's a loss leader, where are they going to make their,
Not have to. If it was a
Okay.
loss leader, they're not marking it up.
then where would they make their profit from?
In fact, it's a loss leader. That's a motivation for them to advertise, to bring more people crowd-wise. More people come in, better chance you're going to have to sell more cars. So if I've got that as an attraction, then at that point, I'm motivated to have maybe the following month, 2 of your cars. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, and
Marketing plan.
right, and I think that's where this starts to break down, Senator, because if you're selling one car at a loss leader, what about that second car? And this goes back to our production numbers. 50,000 vehicles for worldwide distribution. Where are those cars going to come from? An independent dealer will not survive long trying to sell Teslas alone, especially when they could go to Ohio or Pennsylvania or one
That's
of
your
the.
opinion, but I'm just looking at the individual dealer himself in terms of his particular market. I mean, you're advocating for your point of view.
Correct.
Now, all companies, manufacturers, they've got their own marketing plan. And right now, the marketing plan that they have that exists in this state and other states I'm aware of is they go through dealers. You've set up your own marketing plan. That was your discretion. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so the plan that you set up was a plan that could be profitable for your particular company.
Correct.
So, and get me if I'm wrong now. So what you're asking this body to do is to, because of your marketing plan, to make an exception for you, because your marketing plan, if we do not allow this to happen, will be in a position where it'll prevent you from making money.
I'm saying that existing Indiana law works perfectly well and that this amendment would shut us down.
I understand that, but I'm saying your marketing plan was discretionary. You yourself set up your own marketing plan. You're not required by anybody to come up with any definite marketing plan. That's your own marketing plan. And your marketing plan did not call for having dealership. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
And so you want us to make an exception for you to operate in Indiana because your marketing plan, your particular marketing plan tailored to your company does not meet what's happening in the general market of dealerships that's going through the manufacturers right now.
Actually, what I'm saying is existing law allows our business model, as existing law in at least 20 other states have allowed us to open up directly. So I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm focused on Indiana now,
right,
not other states.
and I'm asking this committee to not to change existing Indiana law to allow us to continue to operate. That we are not entering into contractual arrangements with independent dealers. It doesn't make business sense. If you force us down that path, my point is that you will essentially kill the company that way. It's more than a marketing plan.
Oh.
Marketing seems to indicate that this is just about advertising. It is about the way our entire business has been set up.
Yeah, but the business is set up based upon the marketing plan because the objective is the bottom line, and that's part of your marketing plan. Without a marketing plan, you're not going to be in a position to make the bottom line, which is profit.
Right, and my statement is that by forcing us to go with independent dealers exclusively, that will undercut our business completely.
But the other manufacturers, General Motors, they can't sell directly to the consumers.
Well, ours is a different technology. Ours is based completely on electric vehicles in small quantities.
That's the distinction that you want us to make for you then.
That is correct.
Does that create a level playing field at all?
Well, actually, the level playing exists now. If GM wanted to open up its own dealership, a company-owned dealership in Indiana, under current law, it could do that today, so long as it was not competing in the relevant market area with one of its dealers to which it voluntarily entered into a contractual franchise agreement. So this amendment shifts that choice from being a voluntary choice of a business to a mandated, legislative outcome.
Senator Hidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to betray my ignorance. I don't know much about franchise law or dealership law in the state of Indiana, so I'm going to invite you and any other witness who testifies to educate us about it. Do you have brick and mortar facility in Indiana right now?
Yes, we do. We have a location in the Keystone Corner Mall.
Okay, and you've talked about investing in a $26,000 square foot
26,000 square foot facility.
That's
yes,
$1.
Senator.
That'd be really good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be a great
square
deal.
foot service facility. What is it in Indiana law that keeps you from naming either one of those as a dealership?
Those facilities are currently Tesla-owned. Nothing in existing Indiana law precludes us from doing that. This amendment would require us to shut those facilities down.
I guess be more specific about the amendment then. What is it about the amendment that says you can't just say, this is our dealership, we've got brick and mortar here already, this is it, we're complying?
Because the license under which we operate, which it's terminated on December 31st, 2017, without potential for renewal.
Regardless of what you do? It's just
Uh,
terminated?
It would be terminated, yes, it would be terminated, and to reopen, we would have to find an independent franchise dealer, which again is not our business model.
Right, thank you.
They have what's called a manufacturer dealer license. Most everybody else that I'm aware of has a dealer license through the Secretary of State's office. So they're the only ones that I know of that have manufacturer dealer. And so that's part of what the amendment does, is to make sure that we don't get into this in the future where there will be multiple manufacturer dealer licenses, that we will stick to what we have normally had, because as was mentioned, the territories, GM, Ford, name them, it'd be awful hard for them to locate an area. So that's the distinction here. Yes, Senator Broden.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Chen, for your testimony. And could you elaborate on, and again, this isn't any elaborate research by me, but there's like a February 11th article here that says Elon Musk says they're going to be taking orders in 2017 for like a $35,000 Tesla. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. In fact, the whole mission of Tesla had always been, in a new technology way, to introduce electric vehicles at ever-decreasing price points to help catalyze the mass market for electric vehicles.
Okay. And again, I know you know this market far better than I ever will, but I assume sales probably bear some relation to gas prices and other things like that. True. I mean, you know, if gas is $4 an hour, I assume there's probably $4 per gallon. I assume an electric vehicle begins to be more attractive to people than when it's $1.59. Is that safe to say? Although there's some who just want it for the environmental reasons, right? And
Right.
for-
There are a number of motivations for different buyers. Our belief is that by designing and building a compelling electric vehicle, one that in many ways can be superior to the incumbent technology of internal combustion, that people will buy them regardless. And in fact, we have not seen a dip in sales with gas prices. My understanding is, and I can't speak fully to the entire rest of the industry, but sales of other traditional, or the sales of other new electric vehicles like the Leaf, like the Ford Focus EV, have in fact gone down as gas prices have gone down.
Okay. And then last question, and I'll try to frame this. Let's see. The independent dealer, why is that so costly? Can it be done on the cheap? I mean, you know, what is it? Can it be done on the cheap? I mean, why does it have to put you out of business, I guess, is what I'm
Well, you're
asking.
basically adding another layer. You're adding another layer for which,
And I understand that.
yeah,
I
somebody has to make a profit, and so that adds that extra layer. And if you look at the way the dealer model is set up, it is to move the metal. In fact, that's where that expression came from, where you carry large inventories of vehicles on a lot, and you try to sell 30, 40, 50 vehicles a week. When you're producing in the numbers that we are and trying to ramp up, and we are not there yet, but we're
Right.
trying to ramp up, that model simply doesn't work. It doesn't provide a profit to that dealer. So that dealer has to sell something else. The only something else out there are gasoline-powered vehicles. Now you have an economic disincentive to sell those electric vehicles when you know you can move gasoline-powered vehicles much more quickly and in greater quantities.
Senator Bro?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
That threw me there. Is the structure of Tesla, are cars the only thing you manufacture, or are you a manufacturer of other items as well?
We have leveraged our battery technology, and we do produce 2 other products in their fledgling stage right now, the Power Wall and the Power Pack. Those are stationary power sources, battery storage, energy storage for the home and for commercial use.
So then would it be, I would say, would it be feasible to, since the dealer model does not equate to profit for that level, and it would require you to to sell something else as well. Uh, could you not combine a model that looks at selling vehicles and these other things so that you have that layer that is making a potential profit from not only the vehicle itself, but some of these other ancillary items as well?
Yeah, and Senator, that is the vision, to get to that stage, but again, we're not there yet. We're still in the fledgling stage. Phase 1 of our factory in Nevada has only just recently gone up. We are only just starting to produce battery systems out of that factory in Nevada. We are still a long ways away from proliferating large amounts of product, and that's really what this is about. This is about getting us to that point of success.
Well, and then my last question, and I'm just trying to be creative and innovative in the same way I think that you all are as well. Could you not find willing dealers who would be willing to prorate or do something of that nature, take less now, more later, so that there is that opportunity to ramp up and to have the proliferations that you're seeking, but find someone who's amenable to being with you on the long haul, who would delay those kind of significant upfront profits for maybe part ownership or I don't know. You know, you guys are the innovators.
Yep, you've come up with some very innovative ideas, Senator. The problem is that you're starting to add additional layers of complexity to what is actually a straightforward issue of whether or not we can be licensed under Indiana law. And frankly, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yes, sure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So your primary concern with the amendment and now the bill is that by statute, we are going to exterminate your existing license, which allows you to operate in the state of Indiana.
That is correct.
Okay. If I wanted to buy one of your vehicles at Keystone of the Crossing, walk me through that. How does that work?
So you would go in and meet with one of our product specialists, and they would basically answer any questions you had about the vehicle, the technology, electric drive. Customers often have a long list of questions. Where can I charge? How far will it go? What can I do? And then if you decide to make that purchase decision, you would put down a deposit. They would help you configure your car.
How much is that?
Deposits as little as $5,000.
Okay.
You would then configure your car. That order would be transmitted to our factory in California. Your car would be built to order. And then currently you have one of three options. It could be shipped to one of our existing dedicated service centers in a nearby state, or it could be shipped to your home. And then one of our product specialists would meet you out there and walk you through the car. Once we put up this 26,000 square foot facility, you would then have the option of going to that facility to pick up your car.
Okay. And that would be a facility, if I had a problem with my car, that I could take it back and say, hey, I've got an issue, can you fix it?
Yes. In fact, we have, again, we have rented space currently at a body shop where we have that base for serving our existing customers.
What kind of customer dissatisfaction do you have if there's a problem with a vehicle?
Actually, our service manager, Seth, who's here, can testify
Okay.
to the direct experience, and I'll defer to him on
Okay.
speaking. But my understanding is, and actually Consumer Reports rated us the highest in terms of service satisfaction from our customers, higher than any other manufacturer / dealer, higher than any of the even independent shops. And I believe that the facility in Indiana has one of the highest scores even within Tesla.
Okay, and just to understand this contracting question clearly in my mind, are you able right now to contract with any dealer of any manufacturer for any service in the state of Indiana?
For a Tesla vehicle? I'm not sure.
If you wanted to contract, for example, the servicing of your vehicle with like Honda, could you go and enter into a contract with them to have them do that for you in lieu of having a service center? Is there anything
There's
that-
no legal impediment, there's a technological impediment.
Okay.
The Honda Service Center would not be familiar with our technology, would not have the tools or the expertise to repair our vehicles.
I understand that. My point is, basic contracting allows you the flexibility to navigate the current system, but basic contracting would not allow you to navigate this new system.
I'm not sure I quite understand your question, Senator. I
Okay.
apologize, but
Well, you're making the argument that right now you're a new technology, you're a new model.
correct.
There's no interplay with the existing system at all. That's what you're making the argument. And my question is, for those that say, yeah, you're coming in and you're needed, for service in case there's a problem, and you're needed in this way, like the current existing system, you can contract around those issues if necessary in the existing marketplace.
There's no legal impediment. Again, it's a technological impediment.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Thomas,
Yes, thank you,
briefly.
Mr. Chairman. One more question. The location you have right now, you say it's on Keystone Corner? you call it?
It's in Keystone Corners in the mall that's in that area.
It's in a shopping mall?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a car on display there?
Yes, we do.
So if we do what we're trying to do here and balance the scales for everybody, one car, one location would be a dealership? Would it be? Would that,
If it's not manufacturer-owned.
Yeah, we would no longer be able to own that facility as we currently do.
I mean, I'm just trying to find out how we can do that would confront the issue that you're going to have to go out of business. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it would be so critical that you could have one car, one location. I mean, right now in dealerships, a person can go in and order an automobile. They can piece that thing together the way they want it and order it and have it delivered back to where they place their order. And I don't see how that would put you guys out of business if you had to operate that same way. You see what I'm saying? I just don't seem like it would. One car, one location, that's your dealership. It couldn't be that critical, and you would still have your service center that you're going to set up. It just seems like that would fit. You talk about a business model. I understand that, but we have people that sell automobiles, and they had business models, but they had to conform to the competition. Some dealers now, they sell RVs as well as a sideline too, just to supplement their business. And so I'm just seeing that there's not, it looks like we're trying to make this thing balance out for everybody, and you guys would be able to do the minimum and still qualify. So you have to see it from our standpoint too, that we're not trying to put you out of business, but I don't know whether you have to be so rigid and you say, well, this is it and this is the way we've always done it, we're not going to change, when there maybe you could make some changes and still prosper. So one car, one location.
I understand, but again, you're adding another layer onto that process where you're now disadvantaging customers, would have to pay more for that vehicle. It's a system that we believe will not support our business model, and there are past examples of that bear this out. Independent studies, news articles that I've mentioned previously, which show that dealers are not interested in selling electric vehicles.
All right, thank you.
Senator Bro.
My last question. You're creative, we're creative. We have a summer study committee that's going to look at some of this over the summer. Would you be willing to work outside of your business model and take some of these ideas that have been floated around and perhaps see if we could come to some kind of mutual agreement?
Senator, we are more than happy to participate, as we were last year, to participate in a summer study and look at all of the issues. My only ask at this point is not to pass a bill with an amendment that shuts this down by a time certain. Nowhere else in the country has this ever been put into place. Senator Kenley mentioned some compromises in the past. We've never, agreed to, we have never compromised on a time limit, a sales limit, anything that restricted our ability to grow. Because at the end of the day, that's what Tesla needs to do to be able to survive and complete its mission.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very briefly, we're about beat this gentleman to death here.
I'm sorry, these things just pop in my head. in terms of, you keep saying the bill shuts you down. It does not shut you down. It's your choice not to respond to the requirement to maintain a dealership, like the one car Mr. Toombs has indicated. That that's clear in my mind, and you can't convince me otherwise. Now, the markup, you said you have accessories in terms of these cars. What is your markup for these accessories, incidental products that you sell in addition to the car, and how does that compare with your markup for a particular car?
I don't have those exact figures on there, but I can tell you that as has been reported in our quarterly reports and annual reports to the Securities Exchange Commission as a publicly traded company, our profit margin on our cars ranges anywhere from roughly 25%, and that is where our profit comes from.
25%. And see, because some of these manufacturers, Ford, General Motors, they have cars where they'll sell it to the dealer, or they'll be on a consignment basis, where the dealer's motivation is percentage of his sales that he gets from the company. I mean, that's a possibility you guys could look at as well.
Well, again, that model is based on moving as many cars as possible. It's based on moving thousands of cars.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, but I'm just suggesting, if I'm a dealer, if I'm a car dealer, and you tell me you've got 50 cars, and you'll give them to me on a consignment, I don't have to pay for them. But the more I sell, I get 10% or 50% off each one I sell. That's the motivation for me as a dealer to sell them.
Right.
Which means if I do a good job, then I make a profit, you make a profit.
Right, but now you're adding an additional layer of cost on top of the profit that Tesla's making. And again, it's premised on the basis of moving large amounts of vehicles. We're simply not there yet. I would love to be there right now. I would love to be able to tell you that we are manufacturing and moving millions of cars. And under that circumstance, business very well could dictate that we absolutely move to that dealership model, because it's so much easier to sell 10,000 cars to a single distributor than having to move them ourselves. We're simply not there.
But it sounds like you just want to completely eliminate all risks that you have. Anytime you go into business, you got a risk. You want to eliminate completely your risk, period.
I'm not asking to eliminate risk. I'm asking that we eliminate unnecessary risk where there is no good policy reasons, where we are licensed already under existing law, where this is a level playing field with other manufacturers, not to put additional hurdles that will only jeopardize the company.
So General Motors, Ford Motors, they've already got dealerships, so that's the risk that they assume, and they're still around for a long
That was a choice they made, and that was a choice they made
around.
for their business model of moving hundreds of thousands of vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.
you.
Appreciate your being here. Gene Voss. And as I've stated over the last about 2.5 hours on other bills, if you've got anything to offer extra, great. Otherwise, just like for you to speak, whether you're in support or opposed.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak. I have a unique relationship with Tesla. First of all, I am an owner. I purchased my vehicle before I became an employee of Tesla here at the Indianapolis Keystone store. I became an employee because of owning this car and the model that was used. I purchased the car because of that model. And Senator, one of the things that was so important that you said in your introduction was, after the hype, where is the help? And you will hear today from our head service center representative, we have outstanding help. And you're going to hear from survey after survey after survey why that we are one of the leading service centers, even without brick and mortar and in a leased place. Why we are the leader because of the kind of service that we provide. One of the things to add to this is the reason that it is so difficult for Tesla to look and say, let's have a dealership and let's have several different cars that we could sell, or we would be one of several. An example, because I work in the Keystone store, I have a lot of people who come in, a lot of people who talk to me, and one of the things I hear continually is, I want an electric car. I want it because of the environmental pieces of that. I want it because I no longer have to get gasoline. Okay. They have gone to some of the dealers who have electric cars. And I have heard numerous times, not once or twice, but numerous times, that they go to the dealer and the people who are working with, who are the salespeople, know nothing about electric cars. And the reason they don't is they have a very low margin. They don't want to sell them because they can't get enough commission to make it worthwhile. And so they say, well, you really don't want that car. Let me show you this car, a gasoline-powered car. And that is what happens if we have to compete with other cars sitting on a lot someplace. Tesla is a unique situation. It's a unique car. It may well be the finest car that's ever been built. The model that we use, I'm going to, if you'll allow me just to kind of share a little bit, I would rather have a root canal than
As
go
long
to
as
the
it's
dealer.
pertinent to the bill.
And I'm coming back to that. With Tesla, people come in, they can come in 3, 4, 5 times. There is never pressure. It is always asking questions, able to take a test drive, to work with a person who is extremely knowledgeable about the automobile, and then be able to make a decision whenever they want to. There is no pressure. It is a completely different kind of model, and I understand that what has been around for a long time is dealerships. But this is completely different. It works, and we're going to have other owners that are going to tell you. My relationship with Tesla is because of that model. I've owned an awful lot of automobiles. I am a lifelong Hoosier, and I've spent a lot of money in automobiles. There's nothing like this car. That's what I want to be able to share. It is this model that makes this car
I
successful.
understand that, but I need you to confine it to the bill.
Okay, and
I
I'm
appreciate
finished. If
you
there are
marketing
questions,
it to us, but
I
I
understand
need you
that.
to talk about the bill.
Thank you. If there are questions, I'd be glad to, because I am in a unique position.
Okay.
Just what-
Yes, Senator Bro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the average cost of a vehicle?
Okay, they begin at $70,000. They can go as high as $145,000.
Okay. Seems to me that that certainly is a high enough cost that you can mark it up just a little more and give that next layer the profit that they're looking for in order to have the incentive to sell.
Okay, my pay grade doesn't allow me to do that, but I would say this: why would we want to mark it up for the consumer to have to pay more for something that the system we have now? You would never have that.
Well, it's already marked up fairly high, so a tad bit more wouldn't hurt.
Well, none of that's on the bill, so let's not get into your markup and markdown. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Gloria Grisinger, excuse me if I say that again. Griesinger, thank you. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. My name's Gloria Griesinger. I was born in northern Indiana, Mishawaka. I live in Indianapolis. I am the assistant treasurer at Cummins. I understand the meaning of quality, customer service, and safety. I live it every day. Bricks and mortar are not necessary to have safety, to have quality, and to have good customer service. In fact, as some of the things already referenced here today, I think it would be a total step backward to impose the costs of that to me as the consumer, because that's just going to come to me. I didn't have to pay a dealer markup. I didn't have to go through one of the dreaded experiences I've had in my life of having to go to a car dealer and be pressured and be told, oh, what color do you prefer, as opposed to focusing on my questions as to how the car would perform. My time is very, very precious to me. So when I was looking at buying a new car, and I've owned GM, I've owned Ford, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda, Lexus, and Volvo. I wasn't even really thinking at first about a Tesla. I didn't know much about it. But my friends had an electric car, a Chevy Volt. So I went and I did a little research. I was able to do all the research online. One day, conveniently at Keystone Crossing, I stick my nose in the store, and I had the questions: how far will it go? How does it perform in cold weather? What about the fact mine is rear-wheel drive? The new ones are all-wheel. How does that make a difference? What's the ratio on the car? The person answered all my questions. Said, if you're interested in taking a test drive, let us know. But answered my questions factually. Didn't say, oh this, oh that, do you want to take a drive? Can I write it up now? No pressure. I said, well, I'll come back after a business trip in a month and test drive one. I test drove it. What do you think, Gloria? I'll buy it. There's no haggling over price. There's no discounts. It's just, boom, you pick the menu. Didn't try to oversell me the sport tires, because that's not why I was buying the car. I was buying the car to be socially responsible, yes. But more importantly, I drive about 20,000 miles a year. So for me, it really was going to be economical. I was going to break even on paying more for this car. As pointed out, it's expensive. But I don't make that much money. It was expensive for me. It cost me twice as much as any car I've ever bought in my life. So being able to save that money, be economical, and feel good about my purchase, supporting a US-made car, supporting good technology, that was important. And also important to me was the convenience of the service. I don't have time to go in and get my car serviced. I've always been pretty good about trying to schedule, because that's important to safety. But that's hard for me. Also, the other reason I bought this car is because it's one of the safest, if not the safest car on the road. I went and read all of the consumer reports, all of the ratings on it, and I was very impressed. But I do have a couple recent examples that I'd like to share with you as to why bricks and mortar aren't important. A week ago, Wednesday, 8 days ago, I was driving home. I felt it was handling a little rough on I-65. I work in Columbus several days a week. And I'm driving, and it's handling a little weird. As soon as I get home, I had my choice of calling, sending an email, or a text to Seth, who is the service manager here and in the room. I sent him a quick email as I was dealing with my trash cans. Within 10 minutes, he called me. It was 7:30 at night. Friday morning at 9 a.m., actually 8:59, he was a minute early, Austin, the Tesla Ranger, was at my door. I was on my usual morning conference calls from 6 to noon. I didn't have to remove the earbuds from my ear. I answered the door. I handed him my key. Opened the garage door for him. He pulled out. Fortunately, it was nothing in the car. It was my tires. And a few hours later, he pulled back. I was finishing my conference calls. That's worth everything to me. They took the safety of my car and my fear because of the way it was handling seriously, immediately. They came to me. That's important to me as a consumer. It's important as my time, but the safety is really important to me. They have never, in the nearly 2 years that I've owned the car, if I was worried or heard a little noise, they've never poo-pooed me. They've never said, oh, you don't know what you're listening to, ma'am. And I've gotten that throughout my life.
Well, Gloria, I appreciate that. You're going to have to wrap it up here.
Okay. Well, in addition to that, I just want to say, whenever I need my regular service, when they come to my house, they rotate the tires, and when those tires need a lining, they take them to a local entity here in town. So the business is being done. I have contracted work for that to do that now until they have the service center. But adding and requiring that a third party be in the middle is only going to increase my cost as a consumer and make my experience less satisfactory.
Any questions of Gloria? Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Terry Finnemore. If I pronounced your last name wrong, Terry, forgive me.
used to this guy. Yeah, my name is Terry Fenimore, as was announced, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have no interest in Tesla at all, not even that one share of stock. But last June, I bought a Tesla automobile. And from a little perspective, I'm a chemical engineer by training. I graduated from Rose Poly back then, Rose Holman now, back in '65. Went to Illinois for 5 years right out of college, but then I came back and joined Lilly. And I've retired from Lilly in '03. While at Lilly, I got my professional engineering license, all registered in the state of Indiana. So this gives me a little nuts and bolts and electricity understanding of how the business works. Because starting in '65, when I got out, I've bought 15 new cars. I like them new. I know it's cheaper to buy them used, but I buy them new. And so I've dealt with dealers, GM, Ford. I've had Mercedes and BMW, and so I've dealt with all of them on a service side. And every one of them, I had to make 2 trips. I had to go, my wife and I had to drive one car, I had to drive another, go to the dealership, drop the car off, let them work on it however many days it took, and then the both of us would have to truck back up there. Well, the Tesla dealership is an hour and a half away from where I live in southern Johnson County. So for me, just one trip would be a 3-hour round trip. I've never had to do that. They have come to my garage for the 2 issues that I've had, that the service ranger came down, and these guys are skilled, and they are good. They fixed it. The one time they had to do some work and put it up on a lift because I had a rattle in a back shock, he came down, dropped off another Tesla, traded keys. I was able to drive the loaner Tesla for a period of time until they finished it up. Then they delivered it back to my house. I have never had that kind of service in any of the dealerships, including Mercedes and BMW. It's fabulous. I would never go anywhere else. No.
Terry, I appreciate your comments on the service. We're not really questioning their service. It's the bill that we're trying to determine whether you support or you're not in favor of the bill. Okay. And that's our primary focus here.
Then anything that the state of Indiana does to give Tesla a hard time as far as being able to maintain their current business model, I'm opposed to.
Okay.
It's kind of like Dell Computer. They started out selling direct to the customer too.
Thank you.
And this system works.
Thank you. Any questions? Appreciate it.
Okay.
Seth Eisinger, is that close?
Okay. Hi, I'm Seth Eichinger. I'm the
Eichinger,
service
thank you.
manager for Tesla Motors here in Indiana. I was hired a little over 2 years ago in January 2014. Have always lived in Indiana, born and raised in Danville, and have worked in the automotive industry my whole career. Most recently for a local Cadillac dealership as their service manager. So I've got a pretty good cross-reference of service from one business model to the other. As far as Tesla goes, I would like to share a few numbers. I think some questions have come up that would be answered by, but in the 2 years that we've been established here in Indiana, we have picked up 3 additional employees, so there's 4 full-time local service employees. We have written up a little over 1,300 repair orders. Of those, only 5 of the cars failed to get fixed the very same day. We're big on same-day service, same-day turnaround. Of those, 534 customers filled out a customer satisfaction form. I believe somebody over here asked about customer satisfaction. We currently have a 99% customer satisfaction rate.
Well, again, several of the witnesses have talked about service. This isn't about the service as much as it is about the bill. That's before the committee. And your comments, I think you're trying to refer to it, you have a service center.
Correct.
And that's fine. If you keep it to how you can take care of your customers, that's closer to the bill.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you have any specific questions on how a service on a Tesla works, I'd be happy to answer it.
Yes, Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the testimony about service and value of the car and satisfied customers is all great,
Mhm.
and I'm glad to hear that. And I don't know what it costs to lease space at a mall like that. I didn't ask that question a while ago. I know in my area, in the Evansville area, it's pretty expensive to lease an office space, and so there is a cost. I don't know annually what it is, but there's a cost involved. So I'm asking if if we establish this here so that Tesla would have to have a dealership, and up to this point, it seems like one car, one location would satisfy that. And when we talk about brick and mortars, I'm not sure if I've seen dealerships that have metal buildings, which are not all that expensive. So cost on building a building or renting a facility like that, there's some cost. I don't know how much cheaper it would be than a mall or if it'd be more expensive. But if that was the case, one simple location, one automobile, which would establish and satisfy this definition of dealership, would that change the way you guys would go get a car and bring it back to service it? If that would that stop you guys from doing that performance anymore?
I think you'd have to ask that question to the owner of the new dealership that you're proposing.
Well, I mean, you worked at the service shop, you said, right?
Correct.
Service center.
I work for Tesla Motors, not a franchise dealership.
So, would you guys would Tesla say, well, we're not gonna go get those cars anymore. We're not gonna do that because now we have to have the expense of having one car, one building, and one manager of that dealership?
That's a great question. The decision would not be made by Tesla at that point. To meet the law as it's being proposed, not as it's currently written, we would have to have a privately owned local franchise, and then that individual would then be the one in charge of making those decisions, not Tesla Motors.
Would you think that would be a poor decision to make if that would be the decision that, well, now that we are forced to have a dealership, we're not going to provide that service? That would be a poor decision, wouldn't it?
If that's true, why aren't more dealers doing it now?
Well, that's something that seems like you're proud of and should be.
Yeah.
My point is I'm trying to get here is how we can make it balance out so everybody can operate. I don't want to see Tesla go out of business. I'd like to see more products come online like this here. But I don't see the harm in what we're trying to do here. I'm just trying to get somebody to explain specifically how this would stop the operation you currently have, that you go retrieve a car, you take it back, you service it, get back to your customer, how this amendment and this bill would cripple that operation.
Sure. It's a costly way to service vehicles.
Well, everybody has costs involved in
Well,
manufacturing
I've worked for
products.
several other local dealerships, and the service department carries the dealership. It's the most profitable
That's
entity in the
inherent
building.
in the business. I just want to know how this specifically would affect you guys to do something like it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Just a minute. Senator Merritt.
Sir, when you worked at Cadillac, were there levels of credibility or levels of standards that you had to reach as a service-oriented employee for the company?
The manufacturer had set minimum levels of customer satisfaction scores that you had to meet. If you didn't meet them, then they wouldn't pay out their kickback money to the dealer owner.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Delph.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you've worked in different types of vehicles, is it difficult to cross-train somebody that normally services a regular vehicle to be able to service Tesla?
Yes.
A Tesla vehicle, and are you able to contract with other vendors for the support that you provide?
We would not. For example, the first year we were in operation, my lead technician spent 4 months in training, physically out in California in training to get up to speed on the vehicle. So it's not something that you could just pull into I think Honda was used as an example earlier, to a Honda dealership, unless it's as simple as changing a flat tire. That's about all they can handle.
Okay, so you are truly a self-contained technological vehicle.
Correct.
Unable to be serviced by anybody else.
If somebody else wanted to take on the challenge of doing it, I mean, the information is available, the service information is available. As the law is written, you know, we have to share technical data, we have to share repair instruction.
Okay.
You know, we don't have a monopoly on servicing the vehicle, but I don't know anyone who's tried it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. I'll keep my comments brief. I've been a Tesla owner since May of 2014. I can tell you that it is the best car that I've ever owned, and the service experience is orders of magnitude better than any service I've ever received at a traditional dealership. My concern and my opposition to this bill is that or this amendment is that I believe you are imposing a business model on a car dealer or on a car manufacturer. And as a citizen, lifelong resident of Indiana, I don't think that's the message that we want to send to businesses. Is that if you're going to do business in our state, you have to operate this way. I think that's a big mistake. And as a consumer, you're adding an extra layer of cost and complexity to my purchase. And if the intent is to make sure that customers are serviced and taken care of, the marketplace is making sure that that's happening. You can see it with respect to all of the customer testimony that you'll get from Tesla owners. There's not a single Tesla owner that says there's a problem.
Are you in support or opposition to the bill? Okay, thank you. Yes, Senator Broughton.
Just a quick comment.
No, if you can get to it. You got a question? Make it a question. Okay, thanks. Has a question?
A while ago, we had testimony about barbering here. Would you agree that we need some sort of regulations with regard to that profession that in barbering, like we do a lot of things here? And I don't know if you were here for that, but
I was not.
We stipulate if you're operating a business that there are some rules and regulations. And for barbering, that was pointed out, and that was for all the people in the barbering trade. And for cosmetologists that was here to testify, there was regulations that deal with that. And that's equitable all the way across the board. One barber doesn't get an exemption. Don't you think that's fair?
There's no exemption for Tesla that I'm aware of. They're operating under current law.
Right now, but what we're trying to do is make this equitable.
What you're trying to do is to limit competition.
I'm not really sure about that. I don't think so, but.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Mark? I'm not even going to try, Mark. You do it for me.
Mendoza.
Okay, thank you.
I was here last year, the same hearing, so. You know. Thank you all for letting us testify today, and personally for myself, I've been a Tesla owner for a year and a half, and as I testified last year, I am against any legislation or amendment that limits or imposes financial and business models on new companies with new ideas. The dealership model is over it's many years old, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80. And I think that this is a new business model, and just because it's a new business model does not mean it's wrong. I oppose the amendment because it clearly is an imposition of a business model on a very viable and exciting company. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Any questions of Mark? We are at 1 o'clock. We go on the floor at 1:30. The chair's tried to be extremely fair here. What I'm going to do is those that are in favor of the amended bill should have equal amount of time to do that. I would go clear into session. I don't think that's fair to them and nor to the committee. So I'm going to hold the bill. There'll be only testimony in favor and amend and vote only. So we will do this again next Thursday, and we'll go from there. My apologies to those that were here to testify in favor, but 4 hours of session and almost 3 on 2 bills is something.
Thank you.
Trying.